Serbian man started a shelter with his mother over 20 years ago. Now he's taking care of more than 1,000 dogs. The world isn't perfect. Though everyone deserves love, care, and a sanctuary, not everyone gets these things. Some get these necessities, but even then it might still end someday. And no matter what we do, we can't fix these problems altogether. Despite the world's imperfections that are seemingly impossible to solve, some people still have the heart and the will to try and make it better. This loving mother and son duo is among those few good-hearted people who have made it their life's goal to make the world a better place. Though good deeds, as many of us know, are difficult to quantify, Svetlana and Dagan from Serbia have no trouble counting their own. After more than 20 years running their shelter, they've rescued more than 1,000 dogs, and more than 100 are actively living in their sanctuary. Dagan and Svetlana started their charitable endeavors modestly. They began by just feeding the strays in Kumik, a village where they lived. The locals appreciated the kind acts that the mother-son duo did, and they began building a reputation, and along with it, a bigger network and more resources. In short, they started to expand and increase the scope of their efforts. Finally, in 1997, they established the Vučjak shelter. Years went by and Svetlana unfortunately passed, but Dagan decided to continue and keep their mutual legacy going and work to run the shelter all by himself. Yet it wasn't as easy as before, not only because he worked alone, but also because his shelter started housing hundreds, if not thousands of animals at a time. Dagan opened up about his mother and told Bored Panda about the impact she's made on his life. "My mother started all this in 1997. It was not planned, there was no specific reason. We found one puppy in an elevator and took him home, and that's how everything started. She just wanted to help a dog who needed help. My mother was a strong personality, strong character. She left everything in her social life and went to the village to live with the dogs. My mother and I were best friends. I'm still talking with her and telling her all the problems and challenges I'm facing every day." Dagan also reported on the current situation at the shelter. "I don't know how many dogs we've rescued and how many dogs we had over the last 20 years, but right now we have about 1,000 dogs. Taking care of them is of course not without issues. At the moment we're struggling and trying to prepare the dogs for the winter. The situation with stray dogs in Serbia is not good. People leave their dogs every day. I receive several calls every day from people who want to get rid of their dogs." But the whole shelter business isn't just focused on domestic animals. In 2014, they secured land in Gleditsch Mountains and constructed a sanctuary for the wolves. Why the wolves, you might ask? Well, though the wolf is the national animal of Serbia, it faces extinction and is constantly in danger due to poachers. Dagan brings fresh meat whenever he can and advocates for their protection. As you would suspect, running a shelter all by yourself is very hard, especially so when there are hundreds of animals to take care of, as it increases the costs of maintenance, and there's so much work ahead. For example, Dagan hopes to build winter shelter buildings and more dog houses in the near future, but the donations from kind-hearted people and organizations keep the shelter afloat, and let's hope that it stays that way for 20 more years. Last but not least, Dagan has shown his determination to the cause that he chose. "I want to say that I will fight for animals until I die. It is my road to heaven, and it's the legacy of my mother."